Stepping into a leadership role is so exciting, but it's also a whole new ballgame. Today we're going to talk about the invisible thing that you may not have even really thought about too much if you're going into leadership. We're going to talk about boundaries. Specifically, the 3 biggest boundary mistakes that I have seen time and time again in my 18 years in leadership with new leaders coming in. But if you can get this right, you'll set yourself up for success and avoid a whole lot of awkward unpicking later. Because if you get it wrong, well, it's going to get messy. Mistake number 1 is the always on leader. Think late night emails, responding to every message as soon as it comes in. Even on the weekend, you might think you're being really dedicated and you're so efficient. But what message are you really sending to your team? By being constantly available, you're kind of sending a bit of a message that everyone else should be too. This can mean they never truly disconnect, as they're never sure when they're going to get the next weekend email from you, which can lead to burnout, lost productivity, and a lack of engagement within the team. It also subtly communicates a lack of trust. Like, you need to be on hand at any given moment to sort any little thing. Remember that email that you sent late on Friday night? Just checking that everything was on track for the early start on Monday. That sends a message that working late on Friday night is okay and should be expected. If you are responding to texts and messages from team members that aren't urgent outside of work hours, you are contributing to the always on culture. Set clear expectations about response times and encourage your team to switch off when they're off work. Not only is your downtime important, but so is theirs. If you need support with this, I have a coaching program designed just for you. I provide the tools and the coaching to build unshakable leadership boundaries so you can scale your impact without sacrificing your personal life. Check out the link in the description for more information. Mistake number 2 is the oversharer. You want to build rapport with your team, and that's fantastic. But there's a difference between being approachable and oversharing personal details. Venting about your marriage problems, oversharing personal health issues, or getting too friendly can blur the lines. It makes it harder to have those crucial, difficult conversations later on. How do you hold somebody accountable who also knows all the grim details of your personal life? You'll be surprised how often the building of rapport can blur these lines, and how, while you might be trying to build engagement by these personal stories, unfortunately it means when the tide is turned and you need to hold people to account, that power dynamic can be super awkward, and it's really hard to maintain professional respect. I have a few examples to draw on for this particular issue, but the big learning for me was when I made this mistake myself. I was new to leadership and I just wanted people to like me, because I had confused being respected and being liked, which I have a video about linked on your screen. But I did not have clear boundaries and found myself more connected and aligned with one particular team member over others. They were more mature and had great life experience that I could use to help support me in my leadership. However, they were also my direct report. It got quite awkward when I was almost being coached by them in my own job and they were reporting to me. And the rubber really hit the road when they weren't actually doing their job effectively. And they kind of turned into sort of my boss rather than the other way around. Let me just say, it was extremely awkward, long and complicated to unpick. It involved me having to change my behaviour, do it over time, continue to repeat the same types of things with them. Oh yeah, I know, really wanted to talk about that previously, but I've decided to establish better boundaries and I'm actually well supported in my role now, so I really appreciate you and your experience, but can we just talk about how we haven't quite completed this project on time yet? It was quite painful, but great lesson to learn early in my leadership career. Keep your focus clear. Maintain those professional boundaries. Mistake number 3 is the rescuer leader. You see a team member struggling and your instinct is to leap in and just help them or do it for them. While support is vital, constantly rescuing your team members doesn't really allow them to grow their own feeling of responsibility and problem-solving skills. Every challenge that we all face individually is a learning opportunity. If you are continuously stepping in for people, you're essentially telling them that you don't think that they can handle it, and by default, they'll stop trying. Instead, your role is to guide them, ask questions, offer resources, but help them find their own solutions. This does build their competence and their confidence in the long run. Think of the text scenario again. Instead of immediately agreeing to the Monday chat, you could have replied, "That sounds like a good idea for your development. Why don't you jot down your thoughts over the weekend and we can chat briefly on Monday to see how best to approach it." And if you're feeling really brave, you could even say, "Now stop thinking about work and enjoy your weekend." Making it clear that it is actually up to them to think about what it is that they want to do, and it's the weekend, and you and them need to switch off. So do you recognize any of these 3 mistakes? It doesn't matter, we've all been there. The key is awareness. By understanding what the common boundary mistakes are, you can then adjust your approach and make fixes so that you don't keep falling into the same trap. Check out my coaching program on boundaries on my Leadership with Nikki website. And thanks very much for watching.